Hey, Michigan fans, Andrew Kahn of M Live here at Michigan Stadium, trying to find a quiet place that's quiet for now, at least inside the press box, following Michigan's season opening 47-14 win over Western Michigan. If you were here at the game and you were able to pull this up in time afterwards, welcome back to the big house. But even if you were watching on TV, had to feel great to just see fans in the stands, see the energy, and see a Michigan win, dominant victory, the likes of which you really didn't see last year. Of course, there was the season opening victory at Minnesota, which we could talk about a little later as it relates to this game. But yeah, obviously after a 2-4 season, this is the kind of game you wanted to see if you're a Michigan fan. Pretty much everything went right except for one thing that went potentially really, really wrong, and we'll get to that as well. But again, 47-14 over the visiting Broncos from Kalamazoo. 550 yards of total offense for Michigan, compared to 317 for Western. Michigan was very balanced through the air and the ground. 216 in the air, 334 on the ground, 13 of 17 passing. Only had to throw the ball 17 times. That's a good rate as far as completion percentage. And you had two different quarterbacks, the two Macs, McNamara and McCarthy, delivering some highlight plays, both of them. McCarthy in particular, late scrambling right, throwing across his body. One freshman to another newcomer, though a veteran, transfer Dalen Baldwin, for what ended up being a 69-yard touchdown. So that's how they. That was one of the highlights of the game for sure. You talk about the rushing attack. Several different players got involved, but the main pieces that we knew coming in, Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, got the bulk of the carries, 13 and 14 respectively. Corum was the more effective, runner, just as far as yards. He broke off a 30-yard touchdown run, ended up with 111 yards. On the ground, he had a touchdown catch as well. So the first player since 2016, first Wolverine to accomplish that feat, a touchdown through the air and on the ground. And yeah, I mean, Donovan Edwards, freshman running back, gets in and looks good in a couple spurts. AJ Henning, sophomore wide receiver, takes an end around, 74 yards for a touchdown. Roman Wilson, similar play, 43 yards. So there was a lot of big plays, but Michigan also picked up, the necessary kind of smaller chunks of yardage to keep the chains moving. Western Michigan scored on its opening drive of the game, and that was it until what turned out to be their final drive of the game. So in between, Michigan was absolutely stifling. They got after quarterback Caleb Ellaby often. In the end, the sack numbers, as I look here, defense, the sack numbers, it was just one. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't want to make sure I didn't short anybody. Aiden Hutchinson had one. That was it. But they hurried him enough, and hit him enough that he was forced to scramble, and the result was 20 of 37 for 191 yards, the one touchdown. But yeah, that's what Western Michigan coach Tim Lestars came back from his press conference was talking about. They couldn't keep five upright enough, and that was a major problem with for Western's offense in this game. I see some comments here. Yeah, the mask is necessary. It's required by Michigan athletics to be worn in this building. So I'm either not here or I'm wearing it on these videos. So there's really nothing to do about that. But that's pretty much what most of the comments are so far. So if you have any questions about the game, I'll try to check back in and read them before I finish it. Okay, let's not bury a huge element of this game, which is Ronnie Bell's injury. From what I heard, there was no update from Michigan yet. A player was asked about Aiden Hutchinson. He said he hadn't really seen him after the game. Does that mean he went somewhere for MRIs or X-rays or anything? You have to imagine that has happened at this point, but no word. There was not. You saw what I saw. It didn't look good. Carted off the field. Certainly very emotional. This is obviously an incredible blow because you saw in this game what Ronnie Bell brings, in case you forgot. A 76-yard touchdown, solid on the punt return. if you're wondering why Ronnie Bell was back there returning punts, it's a fair question. Michigan has several options, you would think, just based on skill, speed, just the traits of certain wide receivers and running backs on this roster to handle that job. You'd have to imagine that maybe several of them were not getting the job done in training camp as far as simply catching the ball or making the right decisions on when to catch the ball, when not to catch the ball, because you'd prefer to not have your top wide receiver do that job unless he's far and away better than your other options. So yeah, that's a tough blow because you look at the other pass catchers for Michigan. There's guys that can step up. I mean, Eric All is a tight end, actually led the team in receptions with 3. Cornelius Johnson, though, 2 catches for 15 yards, only targeted 3 times. And then a bunch of guys with one catch, in addition to Corum out of the backfield catching a couple passes. So, I mean, there's guys capable of stepping up. You saw Dalen Baldwin with the big play. I mentioned Johnson, Henning. There's other guys on this roster that can do it, but, Bell is the piece that I mean, he is the returning veteran who has done it. He's led the team, in catches the last couple of years and yardage last year as well. So that's the only negative that comes out of this game because, if you look at everything else straight down the line, passing attack, rushing attack, defense, some of the freshmen, quarterback play, kind of no matter what phase of the game you look at, it went well for Michigan, except that one injury to Ronnie Bell, which is potentially a huge damper on what was a wonderful afternoon for the Wolverines. We'll wrap it up here, kind of looking ahead a little bit. You got Washington next week for Michigan, primetime game here at the Big House. Washington will play tonight at home against Montana. Games on the Pac-12 network. If you get that one, you can tune in to get a sneak peek at Michigan's next opponent. I've seen Michigan as like a 1-point favorite in that game. So it's a great early season test for Michigan and a critical game if you look at the rest of the schedule. We've talked about this a lot on the Wolverine Confidential podcast, but Michigan's schedule early is favorable, that a win here is really the only it's the toughest potential stumbling block to a 4-0 record. Let's put it that way to start the season before they go on the road for the first time. But yeah, again, 47-14 win for Michigan. They're 1-0. They move on potentially without Ronnie Bell, but stay tuned for more coverage on that and the entire program on mlive.com/Wolverines. Thank you.